Comparison is one of the most subtle yet powerful ways we diminish our own potential, often without even realizing it. From a young age, we are taught to measure ourselves against others, how we look, what we achieve, how fast we progress, or how much we possess, and in doing so, we unknowingly reject our own uniqueness. The moment you compare your journey with someone else's, you overlook the sacred timing and design of your own life. You are not meant to walk the same path, at the same pace, with the same tools as anyone else. Just as no two trees grow in exactly the same shape, no two souls unfold. In the same way, yet comparison makes you feel either inferior or superior, both illusions that rob you of presence and gratitude. It fuels dissatisfaction, breeds insecurity, and distracts you from what truly matters, nurturing your inner growth and honoring your own path. The truth is, someone else's success is not your failure, and their light does not dim yours. But as long as you look outward to determine your worth, you will remain disconnected from the gifts that only you can bring into this world. Within every human being lies an immense reservoir of untapped potential. But most never realize it because they are too focused on limitations rather than possibilities. Just like a seed holds within it the blueprint of a vast tree, capable of bearing fruit and sheltering life, you too carry within you the ability to grow, transform, and impact the world in ways you've never imagined. The challenge is that this potential doesn't scream for attention. It whispers quietly beneath layers of fear, doubt, and conditioning. Most people wait for the perfect moment, the right environment, or someone else's approval to begin unfolding their inner strength, never realizing that the power was already there all along. Your creativity, resilience, compassion, intelligence, these qualities are not foreign substances that must be added to you. They are already present, waiting to be awakened through awareness and effort. But without nurturing your inner soil through self-reflection, learning and intentional living, this potential remains dormant, much like a seed left unwatered. The process of realizing your capabilities begins not with force or pressure, but with a quiet inner commitment to grow beyond who you were yesterday. Self-doubt is not something you were born with. It is something you were taught through criticism, failure, comparison, and the opinions of others who themselves were often doubting their worth. As a child, you didn't hesitate to explore, to ask questions, to imagine and to try without fear of falling. But over time, layers of conditioning began to cover that natural confidence. Every time someone told you, you can't, or that's not for you, a seed of doubt was planted. Eventually, these seeds grew into inner voices that questioned your abilities and your value, making you second-guess your every decision and hold back from opportunities meant for you. The tragic part is most people accept these voices as truth, forgetting that they were learned from someone else's limited view. Doubt becomes a habit of thinking, not a reflection of your true nature. At your core, you are built for growth, for courage, and for overcoming. That inner voice of certainty is still there. It's just been silenced beneath years of mental noise and emotional wounds. But once you realize that self-doubt is not your original state, you begin to see that it can also be unlearned. Awareness is the silent force that transforms everything it touches, not through effort or struggle, but through the light of clear seeing. Most people live in a state of unconscious reaction, repeating the same thoughts, habits, and emotional patterns without ever pausing to question them. But the moment you become truly aware of your thoughts, your emotions, your body, and the space around you, you step out of the automatic and into the intentional. This awareness is not intellectual, it is a felt presence, a deep noticing that reveals what has always been there but overlooked. In awareness, you begin to see how your mind creates stories that you've mistaken for truth, how your emotions rise and fall without asking for permission, and how your actions are often dictated by old wounds or fears. Yet, the beauty of awareness is that it doesn't demand change, it invites it. When you see clearly, you naturally begin to shift. Old habits dissolve not because you force them to, but because they no longer make sense. Negative patterns lose their grip, not because you fight them, but because you outgrow them through insight. This shift doesn't require a complete overhaul of your life. It begins in the simple act of watching, noticing, and being present with what is without judgment or resistance. Most people go through life identifying themselves entirely with their physical body or the constant chatter of their thoughts. You say, "This is my body," or "These are my thoughts." Yet rarely do you stop to ask, who is the one observing all of this? The body changes with time, the mind evolves with experience, and emotions rise and fall like waves in the ocean. Yet there is a constant presence within you that remains unchanged through it all. That silent witness, that unshaken core of awareness is who you truly are. It cannot be seen in a mirror or captured in a photograph. It doesn't get old, doesn't get tired, and isn't shaped by the opinions of others. This deeper self exists prior to your name, your beliefs, your memories, and even your personality. It is the space in which your entire life is unfolding, quietly watching without judgment, without fear, without need. When you begin to sense this, even faintly, you realize that what you've called Amiya so far is only the surface of a vast ocean. Many people carry the weight of their past like an invisible burden, allowing previous mistakes, regrets, and experiences to define who they are in the present moment. But your past is nothing more than a memory, a collection of moments that no longer exist except in your mind. What you were yesterday does not limit who you can be today. Just as the sky remains untouched by the clouds that pass through it, your true self remains untouched by the events of your past. You may have faced failure, rejection, or heartbreak, but these are not your identity. They are simply events that happen to you, not the essence of who you are. Even your so-called successes and accomplishments, though often celebrated, are not the totality of your being. They were merely expressions of what you were capable of at a certain point in time, not a ceiling on your future growth. You are not a prisoner of your story. You are the space in which the story is being written, and at any moment you can turn the page and begin again. In the rush of daily life, the noise of the world often drowns out the quiet voice within, and we become so entangled in distractions that we forget there is a deeper presence always available to us. But when you allow yourself to sit in stillness, not just physically, but mentally and emotionally, a subtle shift begins to happen. You start to notice the gap between thoughts, the quiet between breaths, the space beneath every emotion. It is in this sacred stillness that the deeper dimensions of your being begin to reveal themselves. This stillness is not about doing nothing. It is about becoming fully aware of what is. In that awareness, you begin to realize that there is more to life than reacting, achieving, or struggling. There is an intelligence, an aliveness within you that doesn't need to be taught or explained, it only needs to be noticed. This state of presence is beyond words, beyond logic, and far beyond the conditioning of your personality. It is not something you find outside. It's something that blossoms when all external seeking is paused, even for a moment. From the moment we are born, we are conditioned to seek approval from parents, teachers, society, and eventually the world at large. This constant need to be validated by others becomes a silent prison, shaping our choices, behavior, and even our sense of self-worth. We start living not from inner clarity, but from an external image we hope others will accept or admire. Slowly, we become strangers to ourselves, molding our lives to fit into the expectations of others, often at the cost of our authenticity. This need for validation creates anxiety, comparison, and fear of judgment because we tie our value to someone else's opinion. But no matter how much praise or recognition you receive, it never truly satisfies the soul when it comes from a place of inner emptiness. The truth is, real confidence and peace arise not from how others see you, but from how deeply you know and accept yourself without needing applause or permission. The constant chase for likes, compliments, and approval becomes exhausting because it pulls you